I want you to picture something with me. Take a breath and look around you. Your screens, your routines, the swirl of information that keeps pulling at your attention. Now, listen closely, because I'm about to tell you something you may never have heard this way. You are living in the exact world Carl Sagan warned us about, even though he never lived to see it. And he didn't predict it with mysticism or prophecy, but with a clarity that feels even sharper today in this restless 21st century. Sometimes I feel it too, that sense that the world is running faster than we can keep up. I get caught in the same avalanche of notifications, the same loud opinions, the same quick truths that evaporate before you can even examine them. And in the middle of all that noise, I go back to Sagan. Not because I'm nostalgic, but because his way of looking at the universe helps me understand my own life with a little more honesty. He didn't speak to experts. He spoke to people like you and me, people trying to make sense of why everything feels so accelerated and fragile. Let me tell you something personal. When I read his words, I feel as if he's speaking directly to me, as if he's saying, slow down. Don't let the chaos swallow your curiosity, look deeper. And that's something we tend to forget. Sagan never wanted us to worship science. He wanted us to reclaim the ability to think, to question, to not accept the easy answers. In a century where volume often wins over evidence, that invitation feels almost revolutionary. Maybe you felt it too, the pressure of a world that never pauses, the polarized conversations, the exhausting certainty with which people defend ideas they barely understand. Sagan left us a toolkit for moments like these: intellectual calm. Not the passive kind, not resignation, but a steady, active clarity. A way of separating signal from noise, truth from spectacle. When I look at the sky, even if it's cloudy, I remember something he said that still shakes me. That understanding the cosmos doesn't make us less human. It makes us more responsible. That includes me, and it includes you. We're not observers sitting outside the universe. We're participants. And that realization changes something inside, doesn't it? It reorders your worries, softens your fears, and gives your decisions a different weight. What surprises me most is that his influence hasn't survived because of nostalgia, but because it actually works. It works when you feel lost. It works when the world seems too large or too chaotic. It works when you need a clearer way to understand what surrounds you. Sagan gives you a way of seeing, a kind of inner compass that doesn't depend on trends, outrage cycles, or algorithms. It depends on your willingness to stay curious, even when you're tired. And I want you to understand something else because it matters. Sagan didn't speak of the cosmos to make you feel small. He did it to make you feel responsible, to remind you that this pale blue dot we share, this fragile home we so easily take for granted, needs you to think more deeply, feel more fully, and choose more consciously. That's why I still hear his voice. That's why I'm bringing it to you now. Not to look backward, but so that together we can look forward with a little more clarity. And if, by the end of this journey, you feel something inside you shift, even a little, then Sagan's legacy isn't just alive in the world. It's alive in you. There's something I need to tell you, and I want you to hear it without rushing past the words. In this century, understanding science isn't a luxury, it's survival. And I don't mean survival in the dramatic apocalyptic sense. I mean something more personal, more immediate. I mean your ability to navigate the world without feeling lost or manipulated. And this is where Carl Sagan's legacy hits hardest, at least for me. Let me be honest with you. There are days when I scroll through my feeds and I feel overwhelmed, not by the information itself, but by the confidence with which people share things they don't understand. Opinions dressed as facts, feelings disguised as evidence, half-truths polished until they shine brighter than reality. Maybe you felt that too, that quiet frustration of watching the world drift into a fog of confusion. And every time that happens, I hear Sagan whispering in the background of my mind, if you don't understand it, someone else will think for you. He wasn't warning us about machines or governments or aliens. He was warning us about something much simpler: the danger of giving away our curiosity. The moment we stop asking why, or how do you know, we hand over the keys of our own judgment. I want to share something with you that changed the way I see things. Sagan believed that science wasn't a fortress for experts. It was a language for everyone, a way of thinking, a form of self-defense, not to win arguments, but to avoid being deceived, manipulated, or numbed. And I think you feel this too, even silently. The world today demands that you understand more than your parents had to, more than your grandparents imagined. The price of not understanding has never been higher. I'm not telling you this to overwhelm you, but to empower you. Because when Sagan said that science is a candle in the dark, he wasn't speaking to scholars in a lab. He was speaking to someone exactly like you. Someone living in a world full of shadows and illusions. Someone who wants to move through uncertainty without being consumed by it. Think about your daily life for a moment. Every choice you make, what you buy, what you believe, what you share, is shaped by systems you don't see and technologies you don't fully control. And that's okay. You're not supposed to understand everything, but you are supposed to stay awake. You're supposed to remain curious enough to question what feels too perfect, too convenient, too comforting. That's where Sagan's voice becomes personal. He reminds me, and now hopefully reminds you, that scientific thinking is a shield. Not a wall that separates you from others, but a shield that protects you from the chaos of the age we're living in. When you learn to question, you learn to see. When you learn to see, you learn to choose. And when you learn to choose, you take back something this century tries to steal from you every day: your agency. You don't need a telescope to honor his legacy. You don't need to solve equations or memorize theories. What you need is something far more human: the courage to ask good questions, the willingness to slow down your mind, the humility to say, I don't know, but I want to understand. Because when you do that, even once, you're already walking the path he imagined for us. A path where people like you and me hold on to our curiosity like a compass and refuse to let the noise of the world drown out our desire to think clearly. And that, more than any spacecraft or distant galaxy, is the part of Sagan's legacy that can truly change your life. There's a moment I want you to imagine, a moment so simple that it almost feels insignificant. Picture yourself standing somewhere quiet, maybe on a balcony at night or in a field far from the noise. You look up, and instead of seeing a sky full of stars, you imagine a single photograph. That tiny, pale dot suspended in a beam of scattered sunlight. Our world. Your world. Mine too. Everything we've ever loved, feared, built, or destroyed, compressed into a pixel. I want to tell you why that image still shakes me, even decades after Sagan gave it its meaning. It's because every time I look at it, I realize how small my worries are and how enormous my responsibilities truly are. And I think you might feel something similar, even if you've never put it into words. That picture doesn't make you feel insignificant. It makes you feel accountable. Let me share something personal. Whenever life feels overwhelming, I return to that pale blue dot, not because it comforts me, but because it reminds me of what matters. It strips away the noise, the drama, the ego, the illusions of importance. It forces me to confront the truth that we share something precious and fragile, something that doesn't belong to any one of us, but depends on all of us. And here's the part that hits hardest. The 21st century has turned that photograph into a warning. Climate change, collapsing ecosystems, rising conflicts, a planet pushed to its limits. These aren't abstract problems happening somewhere else. They're happening to us, to you and to me, on the only home we have ever known. And when I think of Sagan, I hear his voice saying gently but firmly, take care of this world. There won't be another. You know how sometimes you feel disconnected, as if the problems of the world are too big for a single person, I feel that too. But then I remember something Sagan taught me. Responsibility doesn't begin with solving everything. It begins with seeing clearly, with acknowledging the scale of our home, not infinite, not replaceable, not guaranteed. And I want you to hear this because it matters. Your actions do change something. Maybe not the entire planet, but a corner of it. A human life, a habit, a choice. The atmosphere isn't saved by a single hero. It's protected by millions of small, conscious decisions, yours included. Sagan never used fear as a motivator. He didn't point at the stars and tell us to run away from Earth. He pointed at Earth and told us to cherish it. And sometimes, when I look at that pale dot, I feel him reminding me that love for this planet is not sentimental. It's strategic. It's survival in its most elegant form. Because here's the truth I want you to carry with you. We are fragile, yes, but we are also capable. Capable of cooperation, capable of wisdom, capable of choosing differently. And when you look at that tiny point of light and feel your chest tighten with a mix of awe and worry, that's the beginning of something powerful. The beginning of caring. You don't need to save the world in one gesture, you just need to pay attention. To see Earth the way Sagan hoped we would. Not as a stage for conflict, but as a miracle suspended in the dark. And if even a small part of you feels that miracle, then the pale blue dot isn't just a famous image. It's your compass, just as it has become mine. There's something I've been wanting to share with you, something that lives at the heart of Carl Sagan's vision. The idea that exploring the universe isn't just about rockets, telescopes, or distant planets. It's about us, about who we become when we dare to look beyond the horizon. And I want to tell you what this means to me because I think you might feel it too, even if you've never said it out loud. Whenever I watch footage of a rocket lifting off, or see a new image from a distant galaxy, I feel a strange mix of awe and humility. It's as if the universe is reminding me and reminding you that the story of humanity is still unfinished, that we're still learning how to grow up as a species. And Sagan understood that better than anyone. He didn't see space as a competition, he saw it as a classroom, a place where we could finally learn the lesson we keep forgetting down here. That we're one species, one family, sharing one fragile world. Let me tell you something personal. There are moments when I imagine you and me standing side by side, looking at the night sky, and I feel the same thing Sagan wanted us to feel. That quiet, steady realization that we belong to something much larger than ourselves. Not in a mystical way, but in a profoundly human one. You and I are part of a story that stretches across billions of years, across countless stars, across mysteries that no telescope has yet touched. And here's what hits me every time. Exploring the cosmos isn't about escaping Earth. It's about understanding Earth more deeply, because the farther we look outward, the more clearly we see inward. We see our pettiness, our divisions, our unnecessary conflicts, and we see how small they truly are when compared to the scale of everything else. That perspective isn't just poetic, it's strategic. It teaches us humility. It forces us to confront the truth that our greatest challenges can't be solved by isolation or rivalry, but by cooperation. When I think of the missions happening right now, rovers on Mars, probes diving through the icy jets of Enceladus, telescopes capturing the earliest light in the universe, I don't see them as separate achievements. I see them as chapters in the same story Sagan began telling long before any of this existed. And when I imagine what you might feel when you see those same images, that tightening in the chest, that spark of wonder, I realize that this exploration is not happening out there. It's happening inside us. Because every time you look up and feel even a flicker of curiosity, you're participating in that exploration. Every time you ask, could there be life elsewhere? Or what else is out there? You're stepping into the same river of questions that carried Sagan his whole life. And those questions matter. They shape the way you treat the world, the way you treat others, the way you understand your own existence. Space exploration isn't just a scientific endeavor, it's a psychological transformation. It takes the lens of your life and widens it until your worries shrink and your awareness expands. And whether you realize it or not, that shift changes the way you walk through the world. It makes you less afraid, more humble, more curious, more human. And that, more than any spacecraft or discovery, is what Sagan believed in. That the universe wasn't just something to observe, it was something to become. Before I finish this journey with you, there's something I need to say, something I've been circling around in every word so far. Carl Sagan's true legacy isn't written in equations, telescopes, or spacecraft. It's written in you, in the way you think, in the way you question, and in the way you feel when you look at the world with even a little more clarity than before. And if you've come this far with me, I want you to pause for a moment and notice something. You're not the same person who started listening. Something inside you has shifted. Maybe subtly, maybe profoundly, but it has shifted. And that matters, because Sagan's greatest gift wasn't knowledge, it was transformation. He taught people like you and me to see ourselves not as passengers drifting through the universe, but as participants shaping its unfolding story. Let me tell you something honestly. There are days when the world feels heavy to me, days when the news is exhausting, when conflict feels endless, when the future seems blurred by uncertainty. And on those days, I return to Sagan's words not for comfort, but for perspective. I remind myself that humanity has always walked a narrow line between brilliance and destruction, wisdom and folly. And then I remind myself of this: we get to choose which side we nurture. And so do you. That's why I'm talking to you so directly, because the legacy of Sagan is not a relic. It's a responsibility. It's the understanding that your ability to think clearly, to stay curious, to refuse cynicism, actually shapes the world around you far more than you might believe. Every time you choose understanding over anger, evidence over impulse, wonder over apathy, you're carrying his torch forward. And I want you to realize something else. Sagan believed in you long before you even existed. He believed in the generations that would come after him, in people who would face a world more complicated, more fragile, more extraordinary than the one he left behind. People like you, navigating an age of technology he could only imagine. People who would have to learn how to keep their humanity intact while holding infinity in their hands. Sometimes, when I think about the future, I imagine you standing somewhere quiet, maybe years from now, looking at a sky full of stars. And I imagine you remembering something, not my words, not Sagan's quotes, but the feeling. The feeling that you belong to something immense and beautiful. The feeling that your choices have weight. The feeling that the universe isn't distant or indifferent, but deeply connected to the way you move through your own life. That's the real inheritance Sagan left us. A way of seeing that sharpens the mind while softening the heart. A way of thinking that demands courage, not detachment. A way of living that values truth, compassion, curiosity, and humility, the rarest resources in a noisy century. And now, as we close this journey, I want you to carry something with you, the understanding that the cosmos isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be aware, to pay attention, to protect this world, to stay curious, to stay human. If even one of those ideas stays with you after this moment, if something inside you feels a little more awake, then Carl Sagan's legacy isn't just alive in history, it's alive in you.